Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, June 3rd, 2021 Planning Commission meeting, and I'll call the meeting to order. A update is our internet streaming is down this evening, and the meeting should be posted maybe later tonight or tomorrow for sure. So with that, Marcia, if you would call the roll.
Clark Gruber,
Here.
Larry Heinig,
Here.
Todd Heinrich,
Here.
Michael Neese,
Here.
Amy Nichols. Here. Lygie Hanny, George Sleeper,
Here.
Janice Varney,
Here.
Tim Stegman.
Here. Next up, approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we'll have the approval of the meeting minutes for the May 6th, 2021 regular meeting and also the May 13th, 2021 workshop meeting. I'm assuming we can do these both with the same motion, but if you wish to break them apart, I can do that as well. So I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the regular meeting minutes from May 6, 2021, and the workshop meeting minutes, May 13th, 2021.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve both sets of minutes, May 6th, May 13th. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is 5. Interested citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on this agenda. I see we have a few people in the audience this evening. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Please state your name and address.
Mary Hasley, Hosley, 726 North Shore Drive. First of all, for the minutes, I had contacted Travis because I think that there's an error in the minutes with comments associated with me. Thank you, Travis, for correcting my name, but I don't know how to correct them considering the minutes were approved before I could speak. And I was wondering when the videos would be online to confirm that I believe that they're not accurate.
Which set of minutes are you talking about?
May 6th.
Okay.
But I'm interested in both 6th and 13th. But anyway, so I know my time is limited. I just wanted to comment. I think it was Mike Neese who commented and also about the Missing Middle Housing book by Daniel Paralek, and I think he had heard about it from Heinig. I did buy it. I have read it, and I am very pleased to see that they recommend that the missing middle housing actually be similarly footprinted as a house. That's the whole part of it, that the missing middle is supposed to be a house, but with more dwelling units, 4-plex, 8-plex. That's inconsistent with the large 60-unit proposed brick square, non-looking like a house footprint that was at the April 27th first public hearing for the Overton program. And I really would like to know when we will get a revised version of that. And I certainly hope it's before the site plan review, before the Planning Commission, because I think that does not give ample time for public input. Granted, there was the Overton charrette, but reading the master plan that also is looking at single-family townhomes, 2-story townhomes, 3-story garden apartments. I think the diagram in the master plan was 21 dwelling units, not 144. And so I just am very concerned that a lot of emphasis is being put on a huge development with government funding. In fact, Daniel Paralek talks about the missing middle should be self-sufficient. If the market is right and you use the right materials, you can keep costs down. And I know that in this is discussed about efforts within Michigan, and I certainly hope that the city of South Haven would look at ways to use programs within the state of Michigan to minimize expenses to our taxpayers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Joe Ashen. I live on the north side of South Haven. And I submitted to you a couple of months ago a plan for my yurt project, which I want to construct on the acreage I have on Baseline Road. And Travis and Brad were very helpful in helping me put together the application. I've submitted a engineering plan, architectural plans, pretty much everything that would help you understand what I'm doing. I think there could be a little confusion, a little misunderstanding about it. I have people coming up to me and ask me, are you building a campground? And somebody came up and said, I understand you're putting in a 100 space campground. Nothing could be farther from the truth. This is not camping. This is not glamping. These are high-end yurts with porches overlooking the ravine, with permaculture gardens. It's going to be a beautiful place, and it's going to cost $400 or $500 a night to stay there. So it's not a campground. I can assure you of that. So what I'm trying to do, and I know this is something a little bit out of the normal for the city of South Haven. This hasn't been done here yet. It's being done all over the country. I've visited many yurt projects on the West Coast in Colorado, and they're really neat. And I thought it'd be a great addition to South Haven. My plan is not to chop down any trees on the property, keep it as a very minimal impact kind of project. Open space, the birds will live there. I have fox living on my property, and turkeys and deer and the whole 9 yards. I see a coyote occasionally. And I'm just not trying to argue with anybody. I just would like to discuss it and see if there's a way I can go with the city, see if we can get into it and talk about it and come to some win-win situation that the city would feel comfortable with and I'd feel comfortable with. And that's kind of where I'm at. So I don't know what the next step is. I've never done this before. I built a lot of solar energy projects out west, a lot of big wind turbine projects, but I never built a yurt project. And I've never dealt with the city of South Haven since I was a kid, okay? So, so what do we need to do to get this thing off the ground so I can start building it?
Travis, he submitted everything you needed, or?
We have the items that I believe that Mr. Ashton submitted to all of you. There are still additional items that we would need to consider it a complete site plan. I mean, those are items that as you were to get closer, we would take a look at and let you know what all is needed. Knowing right now tonight here exactly each document that's still needed, that I can't say, but it's not yet a complete submission. So.
Well, my question is, I've put together, I have my engineering plans showing how it's going to be laid out, showing every tree is marked. Every tree on the property has been marked. I had a landscape architect come in who's a tree hugger, who I like, and he figured out how to put this whole thing together with not taking out one big tree. So I guess I'm trying to figure out what the city, what are my chances of doing this before I go spend a lot more money? I could spend 20 grand putting a site plan together and not have any, still have a no. So I've submitted to you, I've sent everybody, I've had delivered to everyone several weeks ago, the engineering plans, the architectural rendering, everything. Pretty much everything you could do to probably give me a provisional okay. And if I get a provisional okay, saying, well, if these things are in order, we will okay it. I don't want to go ahead and start spending a lot of money on something that's never been done before, and then have the city say, well, we're just not going to do this after I've spent another, a lot more money.
Well, until this commission receives a official request to look at the project, everything that's discussed outside of a regularly scheduled meeting is just opinion. And the one thing we don't have is a definition of yurts in our code. And what this commission is going to have to do, once you submit a proper application, is discuss that very topic. And until that time, I really can't speak for anybody else or even myself. It's a debatable project.
Okay, I understand. But it was my understanding that I had submitted an application. That was my understanding. We filled out all that paperwork.
That's not my understanding.
Okay, well then,
So I would suggest after tonight, maybe tomorrow, get a hold of Travis.
Okay.
And go through with him what you did submit.
okay,
He will outline what you haven't submitted,
okay,
and then we can get you on an agenda,
okay,
and then we can have the debate.
okay. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
I will give you a call tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay,
Good
thank
night.
you. All right, and anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to old business, which is the text amendment update, sections 1404, 1405.3, and 1718. Travis, are you gonna take the lead, or Brad?
Yep, so this basically just addresses what we discussed at the last meeting. The planning commission gave a recommendation on the language that was brought to it a month ago. At that meeting, the commissioners suggested possibly moving some language from, I believe it was 1405.3 to section 1718 regarding an environmental impact study to be paid for and the firm to be chosen by the applicant. It was recommended to move that to section 1718, basically out of ease of use for developers. So we're bringing that back tonight on the city attorney's recommendation that language be modified by the planning commission before being submitted to the city council for consideration. The city attorney also mentioned possibly removing the word may from the language in section, I believe it was 1404, and, 1718, and changing that language from may to shall, just so that there's no confusion over whether you have a developer that considers themselves as being treated not as favorably as another developer. If you were to require a study for one and then to say to the other, we don't. So putting it just in very black and white terms. So city attorney's recommendation was that another public hearing was not necessary for these changes. But I did mention in the staff report that prior to going to the city council, we will notice a public hearing at that level to address the fact that section 1718 is now being modified as well. So that was not noticed in the notice, the original notice for the planning commission, so.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from the audience that wishes to speak on item 6? Yeah,
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I just want to say, I wasn't sure why PUD was removed, so one of the amendments to the text included PUD in part of it, and it's not included in the subsequent part. So it was in the 1718, and it was not incorporated into the 1404, I believe, where the cut and paste happened, and I didn't know what significance that had. And then with regard to the 1404, with regard to 16, I still am a bit concerned that it says a structure that is 85,000 square feet or greater in floor area, especially if you are talking about a PUD. It seems like the environmental impact statement would be required to look at roof runoff, which would be cumulative, not per single unit. And it would also impact the amount of land that would have to be moved to construct that amount of square footage. And so it didn't seem right to me that it would be limited to only one A singular structure was involved of that size. It should look at the cumulative construction on that site that would warrant an EIS. With regard to 1405, in looking at subsequent items on the board, on the agenda, I wasn't sure why 3E didn't have accessories in light of the amendment to 201.1. And also, I wasn't sure with regard to point D, with changes to 1403 and the 6-inch trees, should this also be included with regard to existing natural features? With regard to age, I had commented it before, I wasn't sure why that was not already covered in the existing natural features under 3D. And with regard to J sub 6, talks about identifications of existing trees and vegetative cover to be preserved. It seems like that would be a good place to remind them of the 6-inch diameter trees. And those are my comments for these. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public? Okay, commission. Entertaining a motion with amendments.
Yeah, I'll try and offer a motion here. I move that we accept the change in the language that's been suggested on our previous discussion for, let me get the proper name here. For the changes to sections 1404, 1405.3, and section 1718 of Article 17 of the South Haven zoning ordinance.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to take the recommendations for 1404, 1405.3, and 1718 as listed in the agenda. Now, is there any other discussions or amendments?
Well, staff, through our legal advice, wanted us to look at the word may in both of those and give something a little more
Yes.
definitive by removing the may and require. And I can see why it makes it easier for staff if we got 3 projects coming and it's a may. What makes the decision that I have to do it, the other 2 don't, you know? And in a project that size, I think a requirement is not something that's unreasonable. So I would offer, I guess, an amendment to remove the word may.
You can insert.
It was my understanding that that was the amendment I offered, because that was the change in the language. And I do support it. Clark, I thought you stated it well. To me, it removes some real gray area, and I like that our attorney points out that when we use may, there's too much leniency from one property to another. Shall lays it out.
Yeah.
Black and white, and I
And
like
that would be the what I would offer as well, at direction from legal.
Yes.
Just a point of clarification, the red text, was that listed on what page is that?
You talk about the word may.
Mm-hmm. That on page 19?
Page 16
16.
and page 19.
Okay.
Although 16, if I looked at under 16, you know, the planning commission may require an environmental impact. And if we put shall require an environmental impact, I think that's part of the text changes that we have, but we may have to do a different amendment with regards to section 1718, because I don't.
Yeah,
think
that's page
may
19.
Was actually back to original language, correct?
You want that one to be shall.
Shall.
Yeah, so what I would suggest is you make a motion to amend by striking the word may in both those spots and inserting shall.
Okay. Make sure I get this right. Then I would make a motion to strike the word may and insert shall in section 1404. 15, because I think that's now in addition to, we're taking out 16, and that's part of 15. So 15, and then in section 1718, first paragraph.
Yeah.
That's my,
Is everybody clear?
Yes.
All right, is there support?
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to make an amendment to the primary motion. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. So the original motion is now amended. Is there anything else? I thought the resident made a good point about the single structure versus multiple structures with the square footage. Would you speak to that?
It's something that was not really highlighted in the original ordinance. I think that's something worthwhile discussing.
I do too.
You know, the ordinance makes the claim that it's basically a single structure that's 85,000 square feet, which would be quite a large building. You know, you're looking at a Meyer or something like that. But if you do get a large development project with multiple buildings, it easily could add up over 85,000 square feet of coverage.
So, which page is that one on?
It's page 16.
16.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could I have 15 seconds? I left my phone sitting on my bike.
Sure.
Right back.
I'll talk very slowly. All right, so it's page 16, number 16, correct? Contains a structure. So could we reword that to say that contains a structure with a, what do we want to call it? What is that called? A quote, not a quote, the curve. I'm lost for words. Parenthesis with a S, structure, parenthesis, S, parenthesis. Would that work?
What I'm thinking with that is, I guess when I look at it, I guess I would be reading it as either one structure at 85,000 square feet or two structures, each at 85,000 square feet.
But it doesn't say that.
Okay.
So structure, or it could say structure and use a conjunction or structures. Would that be better?
Yeah, I think that'd be a little more clear.
I can't make motions, though.
Let's see if I capture it, Tim. So I'll make a motion that we add in section 16
Or structures.
or item 16, we add, or we change the wordage from structure to structures. Is that what you're saying? No?
Structure, and after that, it'd say
Structure
or
and or
structures.
structures. there we go.
That are, is or are.
85,000 square feet or greater in floor area.
Okay,
So it's additional text of structure and/or structures that are 85,000.
very good.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm not sure what we're accomplishing with this. If you're looking at a PUD, most of those are built in phases, and no one phase is probably going to come up with a combination of 85,000 square feet. So putting this change in there, I don't think is going to get us any more teeth to get an EIS statement. And I don't think an EIS statement that's done in phases is going to be worth anything to us.
Okay.
Let me ask
So-
a question. Perhaps Larry or Tim. As I read it originally, the bottom line is any structure 85,000 square feet, any structure, is going to have an environmental impact study. So whether a developer puts up one or two, each of them, if it's two, are still required, as long, it's not a conglomerate of, or it's not a summary, or we're not talking about 5 or 6 buildings that may make up 85,000 together. We're talking a single structure that's 85,000.
But the amendment that's in front of us is the addition of a bunch of buildings that might come up to 85,000.
But it has to be in the same structure.
I'm not following you.
Multiple structures aggregated.
Yeah, that's not how I understood it. What I understood is this calls for us to require that study if the structure is 85,000 square feet, not structures.
That's the point of the, or structures, is to aggregate.
We could have, Chairman, development that is less than 5 acres and 2 buildings that equal 85. And that would be something that would qualify, and I can see where Heineck is thinking, which is true. When it comes to a smaller PUD, to get to 85 square feet, probably gonna be phases, you know. That's a lot of houses to build all in one fell swoop. And trying to find, you know, property that would be then something less than 5. And I think I did the calculation at 5 acres, even in a normal 66 by 132 city lot, you know, that's 25 homes. Of course, PUDs are gonna be smaller footprints. You're gonna be able to put more homes in that space. I think either way, we're covering ourselves from these, you know, abilities of 2 45 square foot buildings on a 3.5 acre lot. And suddenly that's 85,000 over 90,000 square feet of building. And that's gonna be that odd runoff for an environmental. So I
Will help.
don't think that's not a bad way to look at it.
Sure, and I understand that, but help the simple-minded person. So if we take a look at the new developed PUD that went in across from the factory lofts, I can't think of the name of it right now. The one we approved, the PUD, the large.
Trail
development.
size, trails and.
Trailside. They build a
Yeah.
lot of homes in there. So that's potentially could fall under this, if we said structures, they may be required to do an environmental impact study. I'm assuming there's enough homes in there to equal 85,000 square feet of conglomerate of structure area.
Of floor space potentially. But if you look at how much that's impacting that area, that's a lot of roofs.
Yeah, I'm not opposed. I'm just saying it's a significant difference in saying it that way. And would be a significant difference to the developer.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I guess this is kind of a new guy question. Structures, measuring 85,000 square feet, are we talking about the footprint? Are we talking about including second floors?
Footprint.
Just footprint, okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? So this is a motion to amend, and everybody's still clear on the motion? Okay. Marcia, I think we'll do a roll on this one. Just the amendment for, or structures, basically.
Structure and/or structures.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
No.
Heinrich,
Yes,
Neese,
Yes?
Nichols,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Okay, we're back to the primary motion with the two amendments. Is there any further discussion?
Travis, I'm assuming that we would also run the new wording by the city attorney just to make sure everyone's okay with that. Yeah,
Yep, we'll have him review it before we bring it to the city council.
okay. Very good.
Very good.
Okay, unless there's anything else, any questions for staff? No? Okay, we'll vote on the motion with the two amendments. And once again, we'll do a roll.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Heinrich,
yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Okay, this brings us up to new business. Item 7. Let me catch up here. What page? There we go. Page 21. So this is 1875 Phoenix Street Site Plan Review, and Ray Vanderzee is in the audience this evening. So Travis.
Yep, so this is the application from Mr. Ray Vanderzee to add a 7,000 square foot accessory structure to his property at 1875 Phoenix Street to serve as the home to his canning and labeling operation for Three Blondes Brewing, as well as possibly some storage for the Vanderzee Motorplex. Something important to note on this one is that the parcel that he's proposing to build on is within South Haven Charter Township. That parcel is covered by a 425 agreement that the city has with the township right now that gives the city zoning authority over the parcel. And so I just wanted to make sure that that was clear to everyone, that's why we're bringing this item, and this is not a township item. So Mr. Vanderzee is here, and he should be ready to field any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for staff? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Page
Yep.
26. That helps
Yeah,
you?
yeah, I guess I'll go with the motion to get things rolling here then.
All right, good.
I would make a motion to approve the site plan and to include the 3 recommendations from staff
Second.
listed on page 26 of the packet.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Now, Mr. Vanderzee, you want to come up to the podium for a minute? Just tell us briefly what you have going on.
Okay. Ray Vanderzee,
70720 Second Avenue in South Haven. And that street address ought to touch your heart from last week ago Tuesday. I grew up in that house. And I go by it 5 times a day right now, and it's still in the same, what had happened. I never want to see that again in my life. Positive note, yeah, we're putting up a rectangular warehouse facility for our expansion. Currently, Three Blondes is buying their cans pre-labeled out of a company in Grand Rapids. It's a cumbersome process. In beer can labeling, you have to get the label through graphic artists. You have to get the label approved through the state before it can be applied to a can. A lot of lead time in that. That allows our company in Grand Rapids to run our cans per label at about 5,000 to 10,000 cans per run. We load those cans up in Grand Rapids, bring them back to Three Blondes, and then we have to have the production run to fill those cans within the brewery. They are acquiring a new labeling line that is going to allow them to buy a very larger quantity of open cans, so the 12 ounces, that will allow them to create a vast increased quantity of labels for different brands. So they'll have the flexibility to have more product out, allow them to expand their production as well as their distribution. So we foresee that warehouse could store 50 to 100,000 cans, which would be a big price break for us, give us much more flexibility where they need to run 5,000 cans of one label and they can pop them all out and get them done. Vanderzee Motorplex also leases storage in Holland right now, where I can have upwards of 200 units at one time in a warehouse in Holland. That will bring a truck to South Haven probably, if not every day right now, we'd like it, but every other day there's a semi coming from Holland to unload our utility vehicles and our personal watercraft. So that will eliminate the cross flow. We can get our units delivered directly from our distribution center in Chicago. One trip, one unload, puts them in the warehouse that we control, will give us a lot more access to our product and get it done quicker. So aesthetically, the building's going to be very similar to the Three Blondes. It's going to be Galvalume on the side, just like Three Blondes is, and it'll have a accented roof. Right now, that color's not locked in, but it's going to be trying to comply with the logo colors of Three Blondes Brewing. So it's going to be a big building that'll hold a lot of beer cans and let us increase production.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Vanderzee?
Yes, just a point of clarification, Ray, if I might. So this is, within this building, there will be a bottling and labeling production line?
No, the beer can only be filled out of the cold tanks at the brewery.
Yeah,
So that is not going to change.
Yeah, so it's storage.
Right, and the cans that are produced there are raw, so there'll be empty cans within the building, so.
We did have in the agenda item that it did say construction of a bottling and labeling production line. for
Yeah, it's a
brewery, so-
labeling production line, so. And that equipment had a 9-month lead time to get it built, so it's on the truck.
Mr. Vanderzee, there's a requirement in our ordinance for landscaping in the
Correct.
parking area. You're aware of that,
Yep.
and you can comply with that, can you?
To show the carrot, I should have brought a picture tonight. When Three Blondes Brewing was constructed and the retention pond was finished, there was a sprig of a tree this tall that Carrie, who is the operations manager, who is a very big sustainability, recycling, environmental person, that tree was about to be run over by the landscapers, and it's called the survival tree. That little guy's now about 4 feet tall, and that tree's never going to leave where it's located right now. So when you have Carrie in charge of it, you rest assured there will be replenishment, and she has a very high priority to the aesthetics of having some oxygen-producing units
Okay.
out there.
Thank you for that assurance.
You're welcome.
I guess I had a question, Chairman. Will you be able to add staff with this new facility, or is it mostly being able to take stuff that's now being done off-site and bring?
It will eventually
Adding
add staff. We will have Motorplex staff right now that will be able to prep next door to allow us to do more service production. And you are all probably vitally aware of the restaurant industry right now, what employment is. It is a tremendous crisis. It has never been beyond what it is right now to get staffing. Carrie does an unbelievable job of keeping their employees loyal and working hard to take care of them. But yeah, that, on the production side, as we gain more distribution, that would certainly be a hope that as we expand further into other states, it'll be a great job opportunity, so.
Mr. Vanderzee, I appreciate the efficiencies that you're looking at to do this. It makes a great deal of sense. And also, when I went by today, I saw some of the leveling of the land, and that's in anticipation, I'm sure, of this project as well. But I was wondering, would it have any additional impact on the detention pond?
Avonmarsh gave us the runoff projections, so
All right.
that was in the study, yeah.
Okay.
That, you're probably aware that's my favorite piece of land. We affectionately call it Lake Blondie. And we foresee expansion necessity down the road too on the site. So mitigation is going to be something we're going to have to look into with that, so.
There's a lot of good energy out there today with the, with the weather and folks coming out. So let's hope that that continues.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the electronic patio, it's a long time design, and it's tremendous. It opens and closes with sensing the weather. So they want to create an outdoor experience that lets people sit back, relax, and have some fun. So that's what it's all about. I'm very proud of what they've done.
Okay, anybody else? No?
The,
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
the staff report talks about the number of parking, off-street parking spaces. The calculation would be for 133, but there's like 87 parking spaces between the two businesses right now. Is that something that, I know the motion basically talks about any additional things that we want. Is that anything that we're gonna ask for as part of this?
Well, in my motion, I think staff may have some insights into parking from the original two requests when the Motorplex was put up and then when Three Blondes was put up. So I believe if I understood that right, it had to do with who was doing the approval process of the number of spaces. So at the time of both of the original requests by the organization, they were compliant with parking
Okay.
at that time. So I think it was because, and I think it's probably better to have staff explain how that was done, but, both the other approvals were done within the compliance of what we knew at the time.
Yeah, so we did a little bit of research on that today. The original site plan approval in 2006 was compliant, and that was for the construction of the original Motorplex. In 2017, Mr. Vanderzee came back with an amendment to his original site plan, which was for the construction of the Three Blondes Brewing building. At the time, the engineer that submitted the site plan indicated that they were in compliance with the ordinance. The ordinance states a certain amount of parking based on either the square footage, the usable square footage of the building, or based on the maximum occupancy from the fire marshal. So if you took the maximum square footage of the building, they were compliant, and so they provided enough parking in 2017 with that amendment. And so our feeling is now it's kind of tough now to go back and kind of hold him now to a different standard than what he was held to in 2017. So that was what we came up with this afternoon, looking into it, so.
All right,
And
thank
if I may, something to address that, the parking lots are going to be resurfaced. should have been 3 weeks ago, but in June, they're going to be resurfaced, and by reconfiguring some striping and some open areas, I believe we're adding 13 to 16 extra parking places now. But also, at the peak of Three Blondes being busy, my driveway that also has parking on either side of it, we have never had that be filled. So I've never seen an overflow situation, but sometimes when we got Gingerman going real hot like they are right now, we'll see trailers and coaches and buses and you name it. But fortunately, we got room for everybody. So that's a very strong point at Three Blondes, so.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
My question along that line, that's why I asked what was going in there, because the expansion, the need for parking to me, I wasn't thinking about, I mean, I hope you get so much business that parking is an issue. But I was more concerned about, are we adding additional employees because a canning line's going in there, which would take away that parking spaces? I mean, if we're adding,
Correct.
if we're adding 30 employees,
Right.
that's 30 parking spots.
Right.
So that was my concern.
And right, with the way it is now, it's a shuffle. If an employee is going to be working over there, he came from my building, or he's going to come from the brewery. So the canning line is actually a two-person run, but it's precision. It's got to have, it gets fast, so it's fun to watch. Thank you.
And just to further clarify, so what you see in the staff report is the number of parking spaces that would be required if we used the maximum occupancy that they have right now. So that number is higher than if you were to calculate it based on the usable square footage of the building. And so we're sort of reverting back to the way it's been handled before, again, because we don't want to hold them to a different standard right now, so.
Let me ask you this, would that be true for others as well when you are looking at these? Are you going to revert back when this same kind of situation comes forward?
So I would say the way that I would handle this personally, if it were a brand new site plan, if this were an entirely new development, I would be looking to see that parking was sufficient to meet the highest level that they would need to meet. Obviously, like I said, they took kind of the other calculation on this one in the past. And I'm not saying that was necessarily wrong. If you look at the ordinance, I mean, it can be interpreted either way. I myself, out of an abundance of caution to ensure that there is enough parking, I would probably tend more toward the fire marshal's maximum occupancy calculation. But again, I feel like it's kind of late in the game now for that with this one, so.
Or if a property's sold, you can then utilize the current square footage for parking?
If it changed hands and it became,
Or would that be grandfathered in?
I would probably go toward the grandfathering on that one. Again, for consistency's sake, and so that we continue to allow the use that has always been there. I would worry that, I mean, if let's say this property ever sold at some point and now the new owner finds themselves 50 parking spaces short and doesn't have the room then to construct it, I'd be worried about what kind of legal ground that may put the city on, so.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, page 26, I just saw this, didn't see it when I read through it earlier. It's on the staff recommendation, it says at the June 6th public hearing, the planning commission should carefully listen to the public's comments. Is that a typo, or that's Sunday, June 6th?
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, I apologize, that should be June 3rd, yeah.
Okay, it mentions a public hearing.
It does. It doesn't. A site plan approval doesn't require a public hearing. So yeah, it was.
Right.
It should have just stated. It should have just stated
Shouldn't
at the
be in
June
there.
3rd meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I apologize.
All right, so we'll back up to the discussion that was just happening. If in the future, this warehouse were to be sold off separately from the aggregate property, with the current setbacks for where the walls are gonna be, is there room for parking to be put in?
I'd need to take a look at that, but I'm not sure that that situation would be under our control at that point, because if he ever sold this one separate, I'm not sure what that would do legally to the 425 agreement right now, but I would assume would potentially revert then back to the township if he separates those parcels. I don't know for sure. I'd have to talk with the attorney on that one, but.
Okay. All right, we do have a motion. It's been supported. Is there any public comment on this project? Okay, seeing none. Any further discussion by the commission? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. And Marcia, I think we'll do a roll.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Heinrich,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes?
Nichols,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Item 8, master plan goals and objectives discussion item. This is page 54. And tonight's discussion will focus on the following objectives. Number 7, fire pits and outdoor barbecues. And number 8, addition of the city arborist to the site plan review process.
Yep, so this is the continuation of the discussion that we've been having this year on specifically the sensitive environments goal identified in the 2018 master plan. Tonight, we're looking at objectives 7 and 8 under that goal, which of course, again, is fire pits and outdoor barbecues, and then the addition of the city arborist to the site plan review process. So the quicker one is simply adding text to section 1403 of the zoning ordinance that would specify that the location of any trees with a trunk diameter of 6 inches or greater that the applicant is proposing to remove be included as part of the site plan review and submittal requirements. So that one's pretty straightforward. It just gives the city a better idea of when trees are going to be removed and what the locations of those would be during the site plan approval process. The other portion of it, again, seeks to define fire pits and outdoor barbecues and then establish regulations for them. We don't currently really have any regulations in our ordinance. And what this would do, again, is define these items and then give an idea of where they can be located at on the property. Right now, we basically rely on the fire code is really the only regulation that we have over any kind of outdoor barbecuing or fires. So if anybody has any questions, we'll go ahead and try to answer them.
All right, before I open this up to commission discussion, is there anybody from the audience that wishes to speak on this item?
Hello, Mary Hasley, 720.
Pull the microphone down.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. In reviewing all the changes, well, first with regard to the 1403, I know this is not exactly with regard to the change proposed, but I didn't quite understand why sub 3F wasn't the same as 1405 3D with regard to natural characteristics. It just seems like you would want to have similar things for the final site plan submittal requirements and for the preliminary site plan review with regard to existing man-made features and natural features. Just thought that some consistency might help if you're already amending it. And then with regard to the fire pits and barbecues, et cetera, it seemed to me that permanent was used inconsistently among at least the fire pits, I believe. It seemed to always happen with barbecues, but it seemed like it was really being used, intended to be used, with all three of them. So there seemed to be inconsistencies throughout the modifications. It does not seem, the sizes under the 201.16 causes some question about exactly how proper this is and causes vagueness because it's talking, the sizes just are inconsistent with fire pits and fireplaces, it seemed to me. And so that just adds vagueness to me. For 201.12, just the terms are inconsistent because the barbecue has a lid, but it talks about open to the sky. So, I mean, I could go through, but I just don't know how much time I have. With regard to 1714.2, I believe there's a typo because it says, I think a knot is missing. It currently says, starting in the middle, the applicant must demonstrate that the proposed outdoor fire pit, fireplace, or permanent outdoor barbecue be of such nature as to be injurious to the public health. And I think you want not there. And it was not clear to me exactly how you would enforce it with someone having to constantly attend, and it's not sure who has to constantly attend, and it's the homeowner. And it just, putting it in the definition of landscape just didn't seem to flow well with me, especially with zoning ordinances and the addendum with regard to the recommendation of plants and materials and landscaping. It just doesn't feel right to me it's like a square peg in a round hole trying to put fire pit, barbecue, and fireplace, whatever, especially if they're permanent, with regard to landscaping, because landscaping is modifiable. And it's vegetative, really. And it just seemed vague and imprecise with putting it where it's suggested. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, now, commission. Do you have any questions for staff, or just to get us started, I'll entertain a motion as well. Either way.
I have some questions.
Okay.
When we originally talked about this, and again, I thought the work done by the staff was very good. But to me, we're still avoiding the central issue in that not all lots in the city are consistent. Certainly, an open fire pit in my neighborhood, 10 feet from the property line, is going to be 20 feet from my bedroom window. And that's a whole different scenario. So my biggest issue that I would like to see included in this is a little bit more definition about the kind of fuel that we use in those pits. I'm fine with propane, I'm fine with natural gas, but we've had people in our neighborhood burning construction material. They're having a bonfire in their backyard. That's inappropriate. So I would like a much more restrictive ordinance based on density of neighborhoods. And I know the issue has come up before years ago around taking a look and see maybe we should be a gas-fired for fire pits. I'm not talking building fireplaces, by the way, and certainly not talking barbecues. I'm a coal guy, charcoal guy myself, but a little bit more definition for people to understand that in a yard that's 65 feet across, you can't have a bonfire.
I guess I also have a question for staff, and I appreciate all the material that was provided and explanations. So we've got permanent fireplaces and outdoor pits. Are we talking about, and I've seen one recently, I went and saw the brand new one that was put on Monroe Boulevard, and I went and measured it today at lunch because I was questioning it. It's 12 feet from the sidewalk, which is good. And if we're thinking about 10, it gives me kind of a spatially what's happening. And I believe that one is gas. But, if I've got a chimenea and my old neighbors just basically took some bricks and put it around a spot in their yard, threw down some sand, and bingo, there's a place where they burned and had, a fire going multiple times during the year. I mean, is that going to be related and encompassed within here also with somebody that has gone out and built in the yard with brick, you know, a patio with, you know, an outdoor barbecue? Because I think that's what we're really talking about versus someone with a gas grill or a charcoal grill. This is something more permanent. So are we also going to look at regulating the chimeneas or you can buy at the local stores a raised pit to burn wood? So now we're talking about types of fuel.
It was something I considered. I didn't bring it up because I thought we could discuss it tonight.
That's
The
great
Legal
point.
did say that. He addressed to me, I believe what you are trying to do in here is talk about things that are purpose-built on site. We do not include anything that's purpose-built as an outdoor grill out of brick or anything like that, or outdoor fireplace or anything. It's not going to be defined as an accessory structure. We only have 2 basic structures that we classify in the city as accessory structures, so sheds, garages, something like that, or swimming pools. So that's how it landed in the landscaping area, because all types, pergolas, things like that, they're technically structures, but they're not classified as structures. So that's how it landed there. But yes, the intent when I drafted this was with permanent things that were built. Nick did bring up, he said, I don't think you're intending to do this with, you know, the stuff that you can wheel out or buy at the store and put in your yard and burn and then, you know, take away or whatever. But I figured we could speak about that tonight. If you would like to address the, not necessarily fully permanent, but transportable
Well,
items.
and I haven't had any issues with it personally, and I've used these as well, but if we look at burning fuel in people's homes, a chimenea, which you can move from one part of the yard to the other part of the yard, you know, potentially, and I think a lot of us, I think what's come up to us in the past is not so much what someone's doing on their property, but how that is affecting others not on the property. Don't know if I've had anybody come to me saying, I didn't enjoy my fire last night, I got smoky and it bothered me. It's always the neighbors talking about what someone else is doing. So I think that should be part of the discussion as well, because I think that's what we're looking at is.
I think that's what we're
It's
looking
somebody
at,
else.
which is the exhaust. And so like Mike had indicated, smaller lot sizes, obviously the exhaust gets out of the yard a little quicker.
And I think typically, Tim and other members, if it's a permanent, I mean, if somebody's putting in a nice backyard barbecue, and, I mean, normally that's, the exhaust is part of what they've considered. But what I am talking about, to Clark's point, is, you know, the elephant in the room is the vacation runners bring their little portable ones, and they go to the construction site across the street there on Center and grab those 2x4s and bring them back to scrap, and let's have a bonfire.
Well, and I also think the difference when you're talking about cooking devices,
Right.
that's done in a few hours for the most part. After that, if you're looking at I will call them heating, but it's just an outdoor fire, those can go for 6, 8, 10 hours, and it's a lot longer exhaust cycle.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know how you do an ordinance around it, but that's the issue, is the exhaust and the fuel source. Because certainly, I mean, if you got a propane gas grill, cook away. But for heaven's sakes, don't burn tar paper.
Brad?
When I did speak to the fire marshal about this, I had him send items over in regards, and I did refer to a couple of them in here about solid fuel sources. It's very general, but in the fire code, there is definitions in there that the fire marshal does have to follow and the fire department has to follow about burning, you know, basically non-compliant materials.
Anybody else?
A couple questions for Brad or Travis. So have we looked at any other ordinances at other communities around the area to see what they've done in this kind of area? Try to get some ideas whether we're in line or not with some other things that might be out there.
I told Brad not to. We're such trailblazers, we don't need to look at other municipalities.
We're gonna reinvent it.
Yeah, we'll blaze our own trail.
No, I have not. That's something I can do as we continue working on this. A lot of the stuff that I wrote in here was reactive to a lot of the things that have come to City Hall about some of these structures that are being built in people's yards. So that's kind of what you see in here is a lot of the stuff that we've had brought up to our attention, and, you know, we would like to see more, you know, regulation on how close someone can build their, you know, giant 3-burner permanent grill next to the sidewalk or something.
Yeah, that's, one of my questions was on the 10-foot. If that is something that we've seen elsewhere, or did we just kind of come up with that number? Or?
To tell you the truth, I just came up with that number because, as Travis said, there has been nothing in our ordinance, or there's nothing in city code about this either. City code just says that it regulates campground fires, and that's all the fire marshal has control over is campground fires. Outside of that, we've been shooting from the hip. And I hate to say it, but, you know, building inspector, zoning, we've been just trying to come up with something that seems common sense. If we classified this as an accessory structure, someone could put it within 3 feet of the property line. So we've been saying, well, 10 feet's a little better than 3 feet. So, and unfortunately, the ones that are already out there, we've been treating them like accessory structures because we've had no other definition for them up until what we're discussing right now.
It would seem to me if we had some way that we could figure in the lot sizes and not have it be 10 foot for everybody, because 10 foot from the property line, and again, in my neighborhood with 65-foot lots, puts you within 10 foot of my property line, you know, and like I said, 20 feet from my window. So I would think, you know, I hear a lot when we talk about R1A, R1B, we're talking lot sizes. We do a lot of that work on other parts of the ordinances. I think we could probably do something along that for fire pits as well. And the second thing I'd really love to have, like to see in the language, is something about a designated area or a fixed area for the fire pit. So they aren't just grabbing those portables and moving them around to wherever they care to in the yard. So.
Comment?
Yeah.
I did look at some other ordinances, and just two. One of the things that some communities do is say you cannot have a open fire unless you're cooking. So reading about that, it doesn't take long before you find that everybody just brings out a stick with a marshmallow on it. And so you have to look at how people might respond. The other thing was a certain footage. I saw 20 and 25 from an occupied structure. So it doesn't say your occupied structure, so it's any occupied structure. So it could be a neighbor's. It has to be 25 feet from a neighbor's. So that might be something to think about.
So everyone sees the red line text, so, you know, really what Brad and Travis are looking for is that sufficient, or does that need to be changed? So that's what our goal here tonight is to comment on proposed changes.
I'm not comfortable with the way it's written. I mean, Todd, what you just said makes a lot of sense to me. Instead of the 10 foot from the property line within 25 feet of any other structure, makes good sense to me. Because that does take in the variability of the different density in our neighborhoods, different lot sizes, and some protection for the smaller lots.
Okay, so there's a possible change to a 25-foot language?
I keeping the 10 foot from the principal structure makes sense. You know, you want somebody being a fire hazard. But adding on into that distinction as well, located within 10 feet of the principal structure and 25 feet from any other existing structure.
So R1A are 50 by 100 lots, right? So 25 foot, I don't know, might be a little excessive in those areas.
Yeah,
Or
20,
not allowed.
18.
Yeah, pick a number.
Yeah, and I'm certainly amenable to talking numbers,
Right,
but I know it ain't 10 feet.
okay.
Perhaps a definition of the other structure, because you may not
Yeah,
have to be 20, or 25, 20, whatever feet from a barn or from, but possibly
Yeah, I'm in a residence.
a residence, yeah.
You're right.
Well, I think that's the definition of occupied structure, is it not? Yeah.
My chickens might not be too happy if you get too close.
I think that's a whole nother ordinance.
That would be cooking though, Larry, that would be allowed.
Well, no, I don't want you to cook them.
Okay, so are there any other concerns with, mainly the discussion's been on the fire?
Just one last question, and
Yeah.
sorry, I'll let us move ahead, but do we have any other existing ordinances in the city around smoke?
Yeah, you can't smoke at the beach.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Well, you can't burn leaves.
Right, I mean,
Taking left turns here.
under this existing language, I think within 10 feet, I could bring back my own burning barrel, right, that I used to have when I lived out in the country. May as well burn that garbage instead of letting it go to reliable. So I think that's what we gotta be careful of. And that's way out there, but that's the real issue, as Tim said, to me, is the exhaust. What is the exhaust? Does it have room to be dispersed before it reaches another residence? Certainly if it's propane or gas, we don't have to worry about it.
See Travis searching. I think there is something in definitions.
So section 1707 of the zoning ordinance refers to control of heat, glare, fumes, dust, noise, ground vibration, odors, water runoff, and other nuisances. So we can definitely take a look at that section right there and see if that helps provide anything, or look at what we need to add, and perhaps add to that then to address some of the concerns, so.
So is that it for now for the fire? So the one question I want to ask, and I don't know if commissioners want to answer, so we're talking about the removal of a trunk that's 6 inches or greater. Let's say somebody had a tree in the middle of the lot they purchased, and they've got a setbacks, trees have got to come down. So what difference does it make? Why have that in here?
My understanding was that it would be under consultation with the arborist.
Well, why are we including that?
The reason we installed it in the preliminary site plan review was to primarily, and this is something that we could have discussed as well, if it was a residential property or something, it would have been in, but yes, the intent was that this was going to be through consultation, or to be able to get consultation of the city arborist. I chose a number again of something that is, starting to get to be a decent sized tree, but isn't a little tiny wisp of thing. Basically, just identifying them on the site plan, on the preliminary plan, that this is what they're going to be taking out. If it seems to be that it's excessive, or, that this is an important lot that may have trees or something that the arborist may consider valuable, at that point, they can at least provide some sort of staff report or, statement in that packet, to be able, to discuss at the preliminary hearing.
I don't know, I just look at this one, maybe there's a 200-year-old oak, beautiful tree, best one in South Haven, but somebody buys the property and it's gotta go. You're gonna stop them from doing it?
No, we're only talking about site plan review.
Yeah,
If there's a tree on my property, I'm not gonna draw up a site plan on my property unless I'm building something that
Right.
requires a site plan review. That's the only place we're talking about having the.
I understand
arborist
that, but why? Site plans always have existing landscaping, always.
Yep.
So what's changing? That,
We're adding trees. And we're adding an arborist. And if there is a way of saving a tree that's important, we have expert opinion to allow us to talk about that. Or if there's a reason that a tree should come out that somebody is not planning to take it out, we have the expert opinion to help us evaluate that.
all right, anybody else?
So,
So you have tonight's discussion. I think you're gonna have to come back with some choices on distances, right? We're just gonna have to pick one. So what I would recommend the commission do is look at this language between now and next month that you have, look at it again, and just be prepared, like we did earlier. If you think we don't need certain language or it needs to be amended, come to the next meeting with something already written out, and we'll take it from there. Now, the next one will be public hearing for this, correct? Or not until we finish it up?
I would rather us finish up discussing it
Okay.
before we hold a public hearing.
All right. Very good. Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Sounds good. So next one is the Planning Commission elections for chair, co-chair, ZBA liaison. So obviously, I've been the chair. Larry, you've been the co-chair and ZBA liaison.
I think the term is vice chairman, isn't it?
Yeah, it is vice chair. You're right. I don't know why it says co-chair. We don't run the meeting together at all, do we?
I'm looking at Michael. We do need a chairman of vice here, don't we?
So anyway, did anybody else want to be chairman?
I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion and say if you gentlemen are willing to accept it, I make a motion that we ask Tim to continue as chair, Larry to continue as co-chair, and ZBA liaison for the next term.
Do you want to amend that as vice chair?
Vice chair, excuse me.
Vice chair.
Vice co-chair.
I would second that,
Okay.
that motion.
Motion's been made and supported. Larry, you still good with ZBA liaison?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Well, Tim, are you good with chair?
Well, you know, we have a August primary coming up.
We can deal about that
So we can
then.
deal with it later on, but we can keep going as is for now.
That was going to be my question. That may have to change in the future, but we know how to make those changes.
But you'll have a vice chair,
We do have a vice chair.
so you're covered.
Yeah, and I had thought of that before I offered that.
I've been on planning commission under leadership of both Tim and Larry, and they run a really good meeting, so.
I'm very grateful for the leadership we've had in place, and if you'll continue along,
Thank you.
it would be great.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, we'll vote. All in favor, retaining myself as chair, Larry as vice chair, and ZBA liaison. So all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. You're in good hands for at least a few more months.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to commission member and staff comments. We'll go with staff first.
Yeah, first comment, I just want to check with everyone. I know I talked with a few of you yesterday, but I just want to make sure that everyone has received the email about the training and has access to the videos and the materials that MAP has provided. If you're having any issues with it, just let me know. We'll get in touch with MAP and make sure that everyone gets connected. The other item that I have, and I believe it was either December or January, that a committee was established to discuss the site plan approval process for seawalls and other protection projects. And I feel like we should start talking with the city attorney about that and maybe trying to come up with some dates for a workshop session to discuss that. Or
Who was
to
on that committee?
I believe it was Todd, Mike, and Larry. I think were the three. So I'll just be getting in touch with the three of you to see what dates work for you.
Hey, Larry, you're the vice chair, so you drive that one.
Yes, he does.
Yep.
I think I was appointed as chair of that.
Yeah.
I'll co-chair it.
So I'll get in touch with the city attorney and see what works for him and what his recommendation is kind of for having that discussion, and then we'll work with the three of you to get a date together. So
Okay.
other than that, those are my comments.
All right, very good. So let's start to my left.
That means I get to go first. I have two things. Number one, I walked through the farmer's market to the evening market tonight. It was very cool. I ran into George there, as a matter of fact. So it was really nice to see something out there at night. Number two, I was all prepared to come here and rant a little more about yurts, because you know how I feel about them. But now that I know we're going to, next time we talk about these, have a site plan, I'm feeling a little bit better about it. I still believe that it's a cool project in the wrong place, but we'll talk about that when the site plan comes up. So, thanks. That's about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say it's great to be back in the same room with all of you. I really struggled with the virtual thing, and I know of two applicants that just bailed because they watched the process and said, "I'll wait until it's over." And somebody who did have an application that went away unhappy and decided not to pursue it because the process was so difficult, not being face-to-face. So it's great to be back here with y'all.
I can concur, although I almost attended online till I had to read it twice to know that we were going to be in person. And I even got a brand new iMac, and I was really kind of hoping to check things out, but that didn't work. And these dividers aren't that clear, so it's good to see everyone. Wanted to welcome Lige. Maybe he wasn't aware about tonight's, I think he was aware about tonight's first meeting. We did not excuse him, but hopefully he'll know in the future, you know, if you can't make it, if you tell staff, they'll make sure we're aware, and we'll know why to get you officially excused. We may have missed that early.
Well, and I don't know that with the planning commission, I don't know if we've ever had to formally excuse. I don't know, Tim, if you can.
We used to do
Did you used to? Okay.
Yes, because it's in our ordinance, if you miss 2, 3 meetings in a row, you can be removed,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. I did talk with Lige earlier this week, and he had a family commitment tonight. So.
Well, we'll do that. Well, welcome, Lige, wherever you are. And last, I was going to put this earlier in our item 9, but I thought, Chairman, you did a really nice job of handling the potential future possible application of a yurt project very efficiently and effectively for the rest of us. Thank you.
Mhm. Vice Chair.
I too want to speak to the fact that we're here in person again, in spite of some people not having the right equipment and finally getting the right equipment. I think the biggest loss that we had was our public. They were just cut out during that, and not intentionally. We did the best we could, but it just didn't work for public input. And I'm glad to see we're back here now so that that can be renewed. And second of all, I just want to thank the commission here for vote of confidence and putting me back in as vice chair and liaison. Thank you.
Kind of piling on to public, appreciate Mary Hosley being here and giving us her opinion on these ordinances, so that's much appreciated. I also want to give a compliment to our recording secretary, Marcia Ranson, because I am amazed at the accuracy and the detail that I see in our minutes every time. So I'm looking for that compliment to be in the next set of minutes that I get. That's all I have.
Thank you, George.
I want to thank actually Tim and Larry for taking these seats again. I really do appreciate your leadership for this commission. You've been doing such a good job. I'm also glad to hear, Travis, that you are looking at moving forward to the goal about the high water and the coastal protection, and that committee will be meeting. I'm glad it's not just sitting on the table at this point. And actually, I felt very comfortable with the online meetings and want to thank those who made that possible.
Yeah, I too, I thought, given the circumstances we had to deal with, that the use of technology was fairly smooth. I got a little tired of having to do the roll call votes. That was certainly an issue of efficiency, but I thought we handled it well. And certainly on some of our meetings, I thought we got more public input than we would have had live. So that was interesting to see as well. Sometimes when you have that anonymity, you're more likely to speak out. Again, my thanks as well. One thing, Mary, I'm really glad you read the book based on my recommendation, but I want to make sure we understand that missing middle is not the same thing as affordable housing. They are often used similarly, but they're two separate categories. Missing middle housing may not be affordable as we think about it. Missing middle housing is more about the footprint, the size, people being comfortable with 500 square foot apartments because of the way they choose to live, urban style, as opposed to affordable housing, which we're looking at as well, which is an economic issue. So there's two separate things. I still recommend the book, but that's a big difference between those two things. So thank you.
I'll echo a lot of the comments and the thank yous for tonight. I'll just say it like that. And I agree, there are pros and cons to an in-person meeting versus a virtual meeting, but I prefer being here. And this meeting is easier to run than a Zoom meeting, much easier. So I'm glad we're back. Now, with that said, just a reminder, I know I had Travis send a message out to everybody to remind them last week of the Hales open house, basically. And just out of curiosity, how many were able to attend that?
Part of it.
Part of it? Okay.
That's great.
So keep that one in mind. Sherman Hills, everyone knows that project area. If you haven't been there, maybe just drive out there and get an idea what that looks like. And then obviously the Overton property's still in the works, so just be familiar with those because at some point they're going to come here. So stay on top of those, and then thank you guys, especially Brad there, for preparing those text amendments, and I know we got a lot more to do, and how are we doing on our timeline with that? Because I have a feeling we're starting to get behind on our original goal.
We have, well, this would be half of these done if we do this. So if we go through and end up moving on, then we're down to roughly half of these left. I think we can finish these out.
By the end of the year?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's the work ahead of us that I'm aware of, and with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved and supported to adjourn the meeting. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.